Hi there. Prepare PDX has asked me to do a video on dry food storage. Now I have two methods that I like to use. One is Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, and the other is vacuum sealing. Today we're going to focus on vacuum sealing because it's really the best way for those of you who are just getting started with food storage. Now you might be thinking, what's the big deal? You put the food in the bag, you seal it, and you're done. Well, in my travels with sealing food, I've come across some problems here and there where I've got a workaround for those, and I'd like to show you what that workaround is. First of all, let's talk about the types of bags. Food Saver does sell a line of bags, but I've had a lot of problems with those. They're not very heavy, and I get a lot of bag failure with them. You're going to get bag failure with any brand because you just can't tell if there's a pinhole in them, and that just can't be helped. The brand, the off-brand that I use is ZipVac, Z-I-P-V-A-C, and this is what it looks like. It works just fine with the Food Saver, but it's a little heavier, and I've had the least problems with it. Now, speaking of bag failure, from time to time, you may be storing something that can be kind of sharp. My mom and I like to dehydrate strawberries and seal those up. So what I've done for that is I take the size of the bag that I'm going to use, and then I cut out some brown paper bag and just to slip it inside. You can seal up the ends if you want. It's really not necessary because once you've sucked the air out, it's the food's going to not move around. Just slip the brown paper bag inside. It's okay if there's a little bit of an edge there. It's because pretty much everything is going to stay where you put it. Put your product in between the two brown paper sections and then just seal it as you normally would. And then you can also label really clearly on the brown paper bag if you want to. It's a little better than writing on the plastic. Even though I'm sealing now in large quantities, like 5-gallon sizes, I still like to do this for a couple of reasons. One, when you go to rotate your stores, sometimes I might not want to break into one of those 5-gallon sizes. I eventually do, but I may just need 4 or 5 cups of rice, which I have in smaller packs, and it's a good way to keep rotating your food. The old saying goes, store what you eat what you store. So once you get to a certain point in your food storage, you're going to start eating off of your stores just to keep those items rotated and fresh. Like I said, I do break into the larger sizes, but just not as frequently. So that's another reason I like to continue to do this. The other reason that I like to still continue to store, even though I'm storing in larger quantities, is I like to call these barter packs. If something were to happen that you're living off your stores for an extended period of time, somebody may come along that had something that you want to trade, and you may not want to trade a whole big huge 5-gallon bucket worth of food. So these are really good for trading. And at one point, spices are a really good thing to store, and I use that smaller bags for that. I mean, even if you go to the store right now, how is it, a pound of pepper, something like that, was like $10. So spices were currency at one point. So that's what I like to use even these smaller bags for. Store up some pepper, things like that, and if I need to trade with it, it's already in a manageable amount. So let me get rid of this. The other thing that I've had problems with, aside from bag failure and sharp items, powdery items. This is pancake mix, and when I just sealed it at first, it was still like, you could bend it. There's a lot of air left in it. So this, you can see that's pretty solid, and it's pretty hard. And I'm going to show you how I did this. We're going to do a demo on this one. Things like cornmeal, pancake mix, flour, all that kind of stuff can be a little tricky to do, and so I'm going to show you how to do that right now. And here I got some flour. You just take your product, put it in there, whatever it is, tamp it down kind of good, and then you just put it in your sealer as you normally would, and close it up. Now you shake it out and get it nice and even. And what we're going to do is, when I start sealing it, I'm going to push on this, and I'm going to force some of the air out. Now it gets a little messy on the inside of the sealer when you're done, but it doesn't hurt the system, and you just clean it out in between each setting. So let me get this going and show you how it's done here. I'm going to get this a little closer. And I work from the bottom and all the way up and just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So here we go. And That's going into its seal mode. It's going to take a second. Come on, there we go. Now that's there. I didn't have a lot of space in there, so that went pretty quick. It's still not as tight as I like it. I probably should have used a bigger bag and gotten a little more space, and you just keep rocking it as you go up. But still, it's a lot better than it would have been if you just stuck it in there and sealed it as is. The other thing is storage. Once you've got all this stuff sealed up, what do I do with it? Well, mice will eat through these bags. I learned that the hard way, and I lost a lot of goods. So what I like to do is, there's 3 different types of buckets that I use. One is the large blue water barrels, and that's for, I can store my larger bags in there. And then there's the 5-gallon and 2-gallon buckets with gamma lids. What these are, if you haven't seen these yet, they're just great and they're not too expensive. This ring and this lid comes together. You take the lid off, snap the ring on here, and it's a pretty tight fit. So you usually have to put it on the ground and, mash on it pretty hard to get it on here. And then you have a screwable lid. These run like $3-4, I think is the cheapest I've found them for. But they're just so much better than the standard pry-off lid that comes with these. That's you can still use those, but they're just a bit of a pain. And these just screw on and off really easily, and they're watertight. So, that's the other advantage that you don't get with the standard lid that comes with these. So, once I have my items bagged up, I put them in these buckets, and they're pretty good to go. Aside from being mouse-proof, if your problem is you're worried about earthquakes, things like that, it's a pretty good crush-proof container. It's, well, crush-resistant, not crush-proof. I don't think there's anything that's crush-proof. Which brings me to another point really quick. Where you store your stuff. I worked for the last couple of institutions that I worked for. They had all their emergency supplies in the basement of these multi-storied buildings. Here in Oregon, we're kind of looking at some pretty good-sized earthquakes hitting us from what they estimate. You never know. But if you have your emergency supplies in a place that, if your building fails, then you're probably not going to be able to get to them. Right now, I currently have all of our stores in a small shed, a small garden shed. I think it's what's 20 by 20 garden shed. So, even if it collapses, it's not going to take much to unbury all my emergency supplies. So think about where you're keeping your items and what you're keeping them in. That's another important thing to think about. One last little tidbit. Items that are already dehydrated and things like that, I still seal these, just in case of if you live in an area where you could flood, and I don't mean, rushing water, I mean just like water rising. I haven't really seen anything that's going to keep, if someone can, like wipe your house out and carry it off down a river, you're pretty much going to lose everything. I really haven't found a workaround for that, but I know a couple friends that had their houses decimated just from rising water. Sealing stuff is going to keep that from being a problem. You'll be able to recover it just fine. These are some really great soups by Bear Creek. All they take is just water, and they make a half-gallon of soup. These are really good tasting and thick filling soups. Are they chemical laden? Pretty much. No worse than anything else what we're generally eating right now. But what I do is I'll just take the bag, cut it, fold this down, put it in the vacuum seal bag and seal it up. And as you can see, that sucker is nice and tight. So it's going to keep it from getting wet. And I don't know if it helps with preservation. I mean, it's already dry, but it can't hurt. So anyway, that's my quick rundown of my dry food storage system. I hope it was helpful to you. And don't forget to visit preparepdx.com. We're going to put a link to it down in the description of this video. Really great website. It has a lot of useful information. And take care out there.